Hi, I'm Cathy Neptune and welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to share with you tips, tools, and recipes to make your time in the kitchen fun, fast, and fabulous. And we're winding down summer into the fall, but not totally into the fall. So I visited my local farm stand and I based this menu on all the things that were at the farm stand during this season. And I came up with my favorites, tomatoes and peaches. And of course my herb garden, which you know I love my herb garden. So tonight we're going to do a little spin on a classic, and I think you're going to love this. My new favorite, a tomato soup, a fresh garden tomato soup. And then we're going to do a grilled cheese sandwich. Big deal, right? Well, it's not just any grilled cheese sandwich. We're going to put two different spins on this. That's just going to make it really different, really intense, and give it a different viewpoint. Sometimes it's good to take the classics and kind of have some fun with it. So I think this is going to be good enough to serve to your company, and I'll tell you a little more on how to serve it different ways. And then for dessert, as I mentioned, peaches. I love peaches. And I can't believe we've never done this before for you, but we're going to do a peach dump cake. And it's very, very easy to do. And again, as with all my recipes, I love to give you different variations. And this would work with anything. And they're mostly pantry items except for the peaches. So hang in there, check it out, and let me know what you think. I'm happy to share the recipes. And thank you to everybody who sends in their comments and their thumbs up. It's so nice to hear from everybody. So let's get started with the soup. And on the stove here, I have already cooking, because I wanted to get this started for you. Look at these beautiful tomatoes that I've sliced. And I really just chunked them up into quarters. And these are just any and all varieties of tomatoes, and that's all that's in there. And if you're doing this recipe at home, you can do this all at once. You don't have to pre-cook the tomatoes. But check out your farm stands, because they have what they call seconds in tomatoes, and you can get a whole basket or a box of these at a great reduced price. So check that out at your farm stand as well. And then to that, I'm going to move this to the side so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to take some garlic cloves and I'm going to crush them. And the thing that I love about this recipe is after we're done with this, we're going to strain everything. So you can throw everything in here in just big chunks and pieces. And the flavorings are totally up to you. I happen to love garlic, so you can put more or less depending on your taste. And, you know, make a note every time you make it of things that you want to do differently, but you really cannot ruin this recipe. It's just that good. And then I'm going to take a red onion. Let's slice off a little piece of this. And this I would want to peel, because we may or may not blend it depending on how thick it gets at the end. But you don't even use the whole onion. I would say we take, for this size, and I don't know if I mentioned I had 4 cups of tomatoes in here. And for every 4-cup recipe, you want about an inch slice of a red or yellow onion, whatever you usually use. And I just cut that into pieces to make it cook easier, but you don't even have to do that. And if you drop it on the counter like I did, it kind of shreds itself, so that's a good thing. And then, so we have the tomatoes, the garlic, and the onion. And what else? Oh, I'm going to add some chicken stock. Now, you notice I haven't added any salt and pepper yet, because the chicken stock has a lot of salt in it by nature. So that you can use a box mix or that wonderful one that comes in a jar. And I probably won't use the whole thing. I'm going to do about that much. And then we're going to taste it after it's cooked a while. This is going to simmer for about 25 to 30 minutes. And we're going to taste it and see if it needs any more salt. And certainly you want to add some pepper to this. So far this is pretty much pantry ingredients except for the tomatoes. You can even use stewed tomatoes in a can if you'd like. As long as you have 4 cups, and sometimes I just have enough for 2 cups of tomatoes, so you can just cut all these ingredients in half and do half this recipe, which again is very convenient. And if you have tomatoes in your pantry, you can do this anytime. So in here we have the tomatoes, the purple onions, the red onions, and the garlic, and the chicken stock. And then I'm going to take from my herb garden, I've got a piece of string, and I'm going to tie these together just because it's easier than fishing them all out. I have some parsley, stems and all. You don't have to trim these because it's all about the flavor. So I'm going to do parsley, lay it across the string that we have. These are, I didn't have a lot, but why not use them? I have garlic chives. Those are amazing. And I heard from a lot of you who said you actually found lime basil at your florist or your garden shop. And I'm going to take these in and have them all year round in my home. They're amazing. They smell just like a combination of lime and basil. So how nice is that? We're going to put some of that in there. And you can use dry basil if you don't have it. If you like basil, go for it. And then Mexican oregano, very strong, so don't use a lot of that. And I think that, oh, it smells so good. So we're just going to tie this into a bundle. And you don't have to do any of this. Just use Italian seasoning if you like those flavors, or dried oregano or dried basil. So we're just going to pop that in there. Like so. You just stick it all in there. I'm going to put this on the stove. Let it simmer for about 25-30 minutes. I'm going to put my timer on so I don't forget. And when we come back, I'm going to show you how we're going to make a great dessert. So we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Look at our beautiful dish of peaches, and I've already sliced them. And I'll tell you how I prepared them. I cut them in half, and then I cut them into each quarter into more quarters and slice them. And then I wanted a little juice in here. And so I already put about half to a third a cup of sugar in there to bring out the juices. And also I added about the juice of half a lemon just so they don't turn brown. And you only need to let them set a half an hour or so. Make sure you cover them. You can also do this recipe with canned peaches. This would be equivalent to 1 large can of sliced peaches, but because they were so beautiful at the farm stand, I thought, why not go with fresh peaches? And we're doing for our dump cake recipe. I didn't even peel these. I wanted them to be rustic, and there's a lot of flavor and nutrients in the peel. I washed them well, of course. And I'll show you how I sliced them, and I have a little bit of trivia for you. And I'll show you, see the ridge over here? You want to slice that right along that ridge. And I don't know yet if this is a freestone peach or a cling peach. Have you heard those terms before? And I'll tell you the difference. A cling peach is a little trickier. You wouldn't be able to get this out. But because we were able to pull this out, it's called a freestone peach. And that makes a difference, I think, if you're doing some baking like this. You want a freestone peach so you don't have to fight with those to get them out of the center of your peach. So we're going to slice that into quarters. And then I just cut in towards you. I make 4 slices on each part. I'll put that in there. And again, just slice them down on the side. This is probably about the last of the peach season, mid-September through, I think by October they'll be all gone. I've done this recipe too with any kind of fruit, but my favorite I think I do with fresh raspberries. Oh, it's so good. It's almost like a peach Melba. So I'm going to mix that. I'm going to take a large spoon here and just make sure they're all coated in the sugar and also the lemon juice. Even though we're going to bake them right away, it's not that important with the lemon juice. But I think the lemon juice gives them a nice little acidity that they kind of helps counterbalance the sweetness. So to this, because I think it goes so well, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon to this. Not a lot. You don't want it to taste like apple pie, but the cinnamon kind of, again, brings out the sweetness in the peaches and makes it a nice addition. It makes it taste homey, and homey is a good thing. So tossing that around, and then I'm going to add a little bit of cornstarch because I'm going to add water to this too. So the cornstarch will thicken this up like you would, usually you add a little flour or cornstarch to a pie filling with it, like apple pie. Oops. And you want to make sure it goes all over the place. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water, not much, just a little, probably a 1/4 cup. And that's going to add to all the juice that's in here. So that's another pantry ingredient that you have is cornstarch and sugar. And if you have a can of peaches, you can make this anytime. Now you could have mixed the cornstarch with the water to make this easier, but whatever works for you. That's what I like about these recipes. They're all so versatile. Think about doing a blueberry one. You can even do a take on apples in here, or do all berries. Do a mixture of cherries and blueberries and peaches. Pears would be fabulous. So I'm going to scrunch that down to give us a nice kind of a flat surface. And here's our surprise ingredient that makes this easy to do. I'm going to get something out of the refrigerator. Okay, what's bad about this? Butter. And look at this. A cake mix. Just a regular box cake mix. Now, you can double this recipe. I'm just doing a smaller version, and I couldn't find, you used to be able to get a small box of cake mix, but I couldn't find it. So I'm going to use half of a bag. This happens to be French vanilla, but you can use a white cake mix, a yellow cake mix, and spread half of the bag. And again, you just eyeball this over the top, like so. And that's going to be a sweet topping. This is not a diet recipe, so don't look. And you want to spread about exactly approximately that much. Half a bag is all you need. But imagine if you were doing an apple filling to this and you wanted to do like a spice cake mix with this on top. That would be fabulous. So I'm going to press this down a little, and you can see why we kind of leveled off the peaches. But it's okay if a few of them poke through. And we're not going to mix this. We're going to do that right on top. And then we're going to take butter. And if you were doing a larger, like a 9x13 pan, and use, this would be equivalent to 1 large can of peaches. But if you wanted to do a regular one, use the whole box mix, 2 cans of peaches, and a whole stick of butter. But this one here, I'm going to try and do half a stick. So you just place the butter along, space them out. Again, nothing too complicated here. And you can see how thinly, it's not even half an inch. But it's okay. Nobody's going to measure it after. It's all going to blend in with the topping. And I have my oven preheating at 350, which is probably what most desserts are baked at 350 in your oven. Did you know that? Which is pretty cool. If you don't know how to bake something, just start out at 350 and you're good to go. And you could do, I've tried this with margarine. I just love the flavor of butter with this. And you can spray it if you want with a non-stick spray, but again, butter is the way to go. So we've used exactly half a stick of butter. And make sure your butter is cold because you want it to crumble into your cake mix. We're going to put this in the oven at 350 and bake it for till it's golden brown on top. The butter's going to melt and form a crust. And I'd say 25 to 30 minutes and you're good. And you're going to have a sauce at the bottom because we added that cornstarch and water. So this is going to be so good. And we're going to serve it with ice cream. So I'm going to put this in the oven and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. We have our tomato soup, fresh tomato soup. bubbling away on the stove. We have our peach dump cake in the oven. Now we're going to make a topper for our soup, which is the way we're going to serve these grilled cheese sandwiches. And there's a little spin on it that I think you're going to really like. So instead of the typical butter, I'm going to take and spread our bread, and this is any kind of bread that you would like, depending on how you're going to serve the bread, and I'll go into that in a little more detail. So this is just a regular store-bought mayo that you might have in your pantry. And then my favorite, you can do whatever combination. So you can see it's not a lot of mayo, just a spread like you would butter. And I think my favorite cheese in a grilled cheese with tomato soup, American cheese. You cannot beat American cheese. So I'm going to do about that much. It doesn't have to be probably 3 slices in this size bread. You could also do, I know a lot of people like fontina cheese, and that's good too. So this one will take probably 2 slices. And I have my grill pan heating. And what gives this extra texture and flavor is going to be some Parmesan cheese that we have in here. And you want to press that down. Look at that. So we're going to take this, flip it over, and do the same on the other side. So you really want to press that in, get the cheese on there, flip it over, and do the other side. So how difficult is that? And we're going to grill these and serve them. We're going to do a little dipper, if you will, for our grilled cheese, which is so not traditional, but it's going to taste better than you've ever had. I must have made, in the last 3 weeks, I must have made this tomato soup at least 3 or 4 times. And by the way, you can, when we strain the soup that we have on the stove, we haven't, you noticed we haven't done any thickener or anything on this, in this soup so far. So before you do a thickener, you want to strain it, and you can freeze it at this level and just finish it off with the thickener that we're going to do. And you can have fresh tomato soup all year long and take advantage of these beautiful tomatoes while they're in season. So how fun would that be to have this on a cold winter night? Very comforting. It's all about comfort food. So I'm going to take these over, put them right on my griddle that's preheating. I don't know if you can hear that sizzle, but that griddle is warm, but not too hot. You want to give the cheese a chance to melt in the pan. So I'm going to put the other one on. And that Parmesan cheese, you'd be amazed what a nice texture that gives to the outside of your grilled cheese sandwich. And the mayonnaise, it's like buttery in a different way, like very, very different. And people are going to say, oh, what is in that grilled cheese sandwich? Because it sure, you've amped it up to a whole different level. I'm going to check on my soup. And we're going to finish this. And that's been about 30 minutes on the stove. The onions seem to be a little, not soft, so I don't think they're released quite enough of their flavor yet. So I'm going to let that go for another 10 minutes. I'm going to check on that, and we'll be right back to finish the soup. Hi, welcome back. Our peach dump cake is still cooking. I've taken off our tomatoes and onions and garlic and chicken stock, and I took those off, and you can see they're still pretty chunky. And I went ahead and removed all the herbs that have done their thing. So those you can just discard because they are done. And I don't like really pureeing them in with the soup because it kind of makes it bitter, I think. So we're going to do our thickening agent. And this is kind of a good trick that I like to do. Most people would add cream at this point after you put this mixture through a sieve. But I'm going to do a different take. And for every 3 to 4 cups of liquid, and we probably have 4 cups in all, because remember we added almost 2 cups of the chicken stock. And I tasted this, and we didn't need salt in this at all. But, and this is according to taste, you may like a little bit of sugar. And not very much. I'd say that's 2 tablespoons. And again, taste this. And I did, like I said, I did taste it. And the sugar just takes the edge off of that acidity, which is very prevalent in your fresh tomatoes. And you can certainly use a sugar substitute, or even a brown sugar would be very nice in here. And then for a thickening agent, for every 3 to 4 cups, you want about 2 tablespoons of butter and the equal amounts of flour. And what we're doing is making a roux. So we have this. I'm going to pop this in the microwave just to melt the butter. So I would do probably not even 2 minutes. I'm going to check it after a minute or so in there. Now there's 2 ways that I have done this. If you want to change the flavorings in here and go, let's say, a Mexican route, you could have added some poblano chilies in here, or the adobo sauce with chilies, serrano. You could go Italian and do green peppers and Italian seasoning in here. There's all different ways, but I'm keeping it traditional today. And then you can also strain this through a strainer, and we're going to do that. But I thought, I hate to throw away all these wonderful components that we have, so what I'm going to do is, instead of taking it through a strainer right now, I'm going to take my immersion blender and kind of cut up the chunks and get more value out of what we have, because these tomatoes are so beautiful. Now, there's another way of thinking. You could also put this in a blender, strain this, and then put the pieces through a blender, and I have done that, but for safety reasons, it's very tricky to be blending something this hot and not spattering, or if you don't remove that middle lid, it could explode with the heat and everything. So I want you to be safe in the kitchen. So I'm not going to puree this all the way. I'm just going to do a little bit to get the texture that I'm looking for, and then we're going to strain it. So bear with me with the noise. Okay, and I'm going to check on our butter and flour mixture real quick. Oh, that's hot. So we have our roux mixed, and I'm going to get a little whisk to do this. So it's just incorporated, if you will, just the butter and flour mixture, and it's even a little golden brown, which is perfect, because anytime you get color on something, it gives flavor. And then this, let me just give it a little more. And it kind of bubbles up, which is fine. It's going to settle down, because we're going to put this back on the stove after we add our thickening agent, and it's going to thicken. So we're going to take this very carefully, pour it into a sieve, and let it push down through. And as I said, at this point, before we thicken it with the flour and butter roux mixture, you could put this right in your freezer. Let it cool, of course, and label it carefully. And put this in the freezer. You'll have tomato soup this year when the snow falls, and it's coming. So pour that in. Oh, I can smell the fresh oregano and the lime basil and all the herbs that we put in there. A little bit of parsley. What a great way to use your herb garden, too. So this takes a little while for everything to go through. You could let this set on the counter for a while too and just let it go through itself, but I'm giving it a little help. You can see how thick that made it when we pureed everything through. Okay, so this is going to take a few minutes. And when we come back, I'm going to add the roux to this, put it back on the stove for about 5 minutes, just till it comes to a boil and thickens up a little bit. We're going to check on our peach dump cake in there. It smells really good. And we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We have strained out our tomato soup. Remember, we pureed it first. But look at how beautiful and clear and rich that is. And the flavor, we didn't have to add any salt because of the chicken stock that we used. And just a slight touch of sugar to bring out that tomato flavor. And you can taste the onion, the background of the herbs, the garlic, but not too much of any one thing. And we've melted down our butter and flour, which is called a roux. And I'm going to take a little bit of this hot, and it's important that this is still hot because we just took this off the stove. And I want to blend this with the flour and butter. And this is how you don't get lumps when you make a sauce or something. See how nice and finely mixed this is. There's a little bit of flour, and because it's warm and not a cold liquid, then you don't get lumps in your thickening mixture. So we're going to pour, look at how creamy that is. And this is the cream element of your tomato soup. And I'm not going to put it all in because this is going back into the pot that we have, let's see, over here. And we're just going to pour it back into the same pot that we used. Why not? And be careful that you have everything in there. We're going to put this back on the stove, and it's going to simmer just until it thickens. Oh, that's good timing. Our dump cake is ready. So I'm going to turn that up, and you want to make sure and keep an eye on this and make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom of your pot, because the roux mixture tends to go down to the bottom. So you want to keep a little whisk handy, or you can just use a spatula, whatever is easiest for you. Now we've made our grilled cheese toast to go along, our wonderful grilled cheese with the mayo and the Parmesan cheese on the outside. And I'm just going to wipe this down here because I did spill some of the soup. Not a problem. And we're going to take the toast, and I think I'm going to make sticks out of it because I think that's dramatic. So I'm going to cut off the crusts of the grilled cheese, and look at how beautifully brown, golden brown they are. I'll cut off the ends. And I'm going to use these as croutons. And you can put these on top of your grilled cheese. How fun is that? Put those in a little bowl on the side. Get a little bowl, serve those. I think it's good to make everything look fun and festive and easy. And you can cut up all of this into croutons if you want, but let me show you what I'm going to do. I think I can get 3 out of this. And it's easier to do when this is slightly cool so that all the cheese doesn't ooze out. Probably a serrated knife would work better on this. I'm going to take these. Clear this away. Oops, look at these. I'm all about the dishes on something like this. And we're going to stack them. Some short ones and some tall ones. Going to check on our soup. It's starting to bubble and thicken. And when it comes to a boil is when I'm going to check to see if it's thick enough. And do this according to your taste, whatever you'd like. And sometimes I serve this with a dollop of sour cream or yogurt on the top, whatever works for you. So I'm going to do another one here. And that's looking pretty good. Let me see how our cake is doing. Oh yeah, this is done. So I'm going to pop this out. And I want to show you something that we did on the side because this is really cool. And I think we've done this before on one of my other shows. I'm going to put this on top of our sandwich. You know what these are? I had extra Parmesan cheese from coating the outside, and I took the Parmesan and put it right on the griddle next to the grilled cheese. And when they start turning brown on the edges, they get a little more solid and all the cheese melts together, and then you flip them over and you have these little cheese crisps. And we're going to put those right on the top of the soup if you didn't want to do croutons. Or you could do a whole buffet like this and everybody can create their own soup and sandwich combo, which I think is pretty cool. And we have another one here that I'm going to do for the second soup while I wait for the soup to thicken. And let me move this over so you can see. And this you could do ahead of time. It's just so fun to do. And everybody's going to say, that sandwich is so buttery. It's so different. And yet it's crispy at the same time. So we're going to do that. The grilled cheese there. And I'll put those aside for now. Check on our soup again. You know what? I'm going to add the rest of this roux because I like a thicker, more full-bodied soup. And this is going to mimic that famous tomato soup that you get in a can, but the flavor is unbelievable. So it's going to taste like homemade, but, you know, like your memories, if you remember your tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwich, but it's going to be a little more complex, which is a good thing. So we're going to turn that off because that is done. And we're going to serve this up. Look at how beautiful that soup is. It's rich, it's creamy, it's got flavor. Look at how beautiful that is. If this isn't comfort food, I don't know what is. So we're making 2 portions today. We've got to feed the crew. That is a winner. I'm going to take our peach crisp out of the oven. I'm going to garnish this with a little bit of our fresh lime basil and a little oregano because we have it and it's pretty and it's fragrant and it looks homemade. And garnish this with our little cheese crisp, and these you can use as dunkers. And another thing, I've done this for dinner parties, and I get a beautiful elegant stemmed glass, and I make the grilled cheese with a soft potato bread with cheese in the middle, and I roll it up like a pinwheel and toast it in a skillet with a little bit of butter, and then put those pinwheel cheese, grilled cheese really into the soup, and it's so elegant and it's such a great first course. So you could take something very, very basic like this and really dress it up into something that's amazing. And look at how beautiful this is for a wonderful winter or cold, brisk fall evening. These are winners. I want you to try these. and tell me, write to me or email me and tell me how they worked for you. So we're going to get out our crumble, our dump peach cake. Look at this. Excuse my back. This would be a fabulous and easy recipe to make this fall for the holidays. Do a cherry one. Oops. Do a cherry filling with fresh cherries, canned cherries, and then do a chocolate cake mix on the top. A very popular, traditional combination of cherries with chocolate. It is amazing. And you're going to be the talk of the tree when you do this. So we're going to plate that up. I'm going to show you how we serve it. We have our pretty dishes. It's all about the dishes. You know me. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to serve it up large. And look at how everything got crispy. And the peaches are juicy. They're not dry because we added a little more liquid. Look at those peaches. It's beautiful. Put a little juice in there. It doesn't matter where the topping ends up as long as it's in there. It's almost like a crumble or a crisp, but next level. So we're going to put that there. We're going to get some ice cream because we can. Right? What's something, a hot fruit dish without ice cream? So a little bit of fresh, your favorite ice cream. I like vanilla because I think it goes with everything. Oh my gosh. And then because we have chocolate mint, I love the contrasts of the colors on top. It's so pretty. It's so fresh. It's so fall farm stand. Look at everything that we've made from your trip to the farm stand. So from the farm stand, from my kitchen to yours. I hope you try these recipes. Thank you for watching, and may the fork be with you.